Today we're going to talk about the fracking in Colombia. As we all know, Colombia is one of the most environmentally diverse countries with a lot of flora and fauna. But the majority of the people doesn't know how important is this, and they are not able to appreciate what they have without taking care about it. A clear example of this is the water that we have, because a lot of this water is like contaminated because of the stupid actions that all these people do. And an example of this is like the use of pesticides on the agriculture, in which we use like a lot of toxic chemicals that go through the water under the, the floor and cause like a lot of contamination on the water that we have. Another one is the deforestation, in which we cut a lot of trees, and this make that the lakes and rivers and all this drop because of all these things that we make. And finally, we have like the extraction of resources, in where they use like machines and some other chemicals that are really toxic and cause a lot of damage, and they are really bad for the planet and for this water, because these leftovers go down to the water and contaminate. But if we wouldn't be more careful with our nature, this is gonna have to get more damage. A big influencer that enters on the actuality was the fracking. That was a project that was in search of the advancement and the development of new methods for the extraction of these resources, of these natural resources, in a better way, like trying to do less damage to our planet and to the environment. But the problem was that this project was the opposite, because the implementation of this brings like a lot of more contamination and disadvantages for the maintenance of the nature. This fracking was accepted in the 24th of August of 2017 in Colombia by the Ministry of Environment, expecting that all of the objectives of this project were done in search of the improvement of the natural resources and for the advances of the extracting methods. Thanks.
Fracking is the process of blasting water, sand, chemicals deep underground in order to heat out the gas or oil. The Commission of Experts said Colombian people that for the exploration of unconventional deposits, the country can research for all through the fracking system. The established pilot integral research project that's going to start in Magdalena must meet several conditions during the exploration stage before the making of any decision on the exploration or not unconventional deposits with the hydraulic fracturing technique. This process could create many problems in Colombia. That's because the fracking contaminates the floor with chemicals like propane acid, briquette biocide, buffer, K established, corrosion inhibitor, solvents, etc. If the chemicals are filtered, they can reach wells and contaminate the water. Some of the biggest problems that this causes are the climate change, the contamination in air and water, and the problems in human health. It could alter the climate, and during the process of hydraulic fracturing, they use methane gas and toxic chemicals that filter out of the well. By the time some local communities obtain drinking water, the water will have contaminated by the fracking process. So, if process weren't being used, the diseases of local communities in those areas would reduce. Most of 90% of water in the fracking never return to the surface, so this reduces the availability. And when the wells that fracking contaminate evaporate, it releases the dangerous volatile organic compounds into the atmosphere, pollutes the air, and causes acid rains, and ground level of sound. It can also determine effects on immune and reproduce human system, as well in cause problems in fetals and infant development. So if we didn't use extract technique, the environmental and human health will improve.
It may seem like all is lost, and by the time our generation is 35, we won't have food or water to drink. But as they say, teamwork makes the dream work. So if all together of us demand that the government actually puts the right implementation of the fracking, we will be able to have lesser, harder consequences on our environment. For example, prohibiting the exploitation of virgin lands, prohibiting actual really intrusive interventions by the companies, relocating or rescuing the affected species, and also having the proper checkups on these companies so the gases that they produce when they are doing all these uh, extractions, those gases don't go to atmosphere and create smoke and all that type of things. And the water that they use, the sand and water mixture with also a lot of chemicals in it, that usage is proper, and a lot less of that water, and that they reuse that water. They don't take more clean water to then again contaminate all the time. So as you all have seen, the situation right now is not as simple as it may seem. It's a lot more dire, and we cannot just be can stand waiting for the problem to just solve itself or someone else to solve it for us. We need to take action. We need to actually move and try to solve it ourselves, because if not, we're going to lose a great treasure that we have, in just for the sake of the greediness of just a bunch of people and the promise of a great increase in our economy. But at what cost? At the cost of our environment, at the cost of millions of species that have nothing to do with our problem and our greediness. A lot of things that we take for granted every single day, and that actually betters our lives, and is something beautiful that we just can't lose. We just can't lose our beauty in our life for simple money that just goes away, material things that goes away. So please think again and try to do something.